Oh man, quality is getting worse and worse. I'm assuming as the day goes around, we'll just have to work with this guy. I'm all shiny, man. I feel like a freaking Joni Loves Chachi episode from like 1981. I feel like I should be singing Jesse's Girl because what I'm seeing those light rays shine across me and stuff like in a bad 1981 video or something, right? But anyway, yesterday at the New River Community College Comic Con video or comic book convention, a man named Mike Urey was there, Eury, and he pretty much works for Tomorrow's Publishing, I believe. And at Tomorrow's Publishing, Roy Thomas does Alter Ego, which is like comic book history and interviews and articles and things like that from like the 40s to about to the 70s. And they have Mike Urey has a gentleman's agreement with Roy Thomas where he does from the 80s on with Back Issue Magazine, which is hitting its 100th and first issue. This is a preview copy. He had these on sale there for $9. I got mine for $6.50. I do the Howler Mouse Hustle. I'm pretty honest with them. That's pretty much what I had left with my budget by the time I came back around to this table and stuff like that. And this is released Monday. So this is a preview copy, which is very cool, and I had to get it. Why did I have to get it? Well, number one, it's the rock and roll comic book issue, and also it's Flash Gordon with a big interview with Sam Jones in it. Apparently, Sam Jones was in a comic book convention somewhere in driving distance for me in Fayetteville. I don't know. I'm not. I know the term. I know. I've heard of Fayetteville. Ugh, and I'm not sure where it's at. I don't know if it's West Virginia, Virginia. I don't know where it's at. But anyway, it's. I had a few friends actually end up going, and they posted some pictures and stuff, and I was like, I never knew. But I'm a big Flash Gordon fan. For you guys that have not kept up, maybe new to the channel or I haven't told the story in a while. When this movie came out, and I think it was 1980, I have the movie poster over here by Alex Ross. I have this very poster over here framed and stuff against the wall. And I have the movie and I have the Flash Gordon cartoon and stuff. Flash Gordon ended up being my Empire Strikes Back. I did not get to go see Empire Strikes Back. I saw Star Wars in the theater when I was a kid. But as a kid and the way things were back then, of course, pre-internet and stuff like that, nobody really knew. Generally, nobody knew, at least where I was at and stuff like that there was going to be another Star Wars movie. So Empire Strikes Back. Loved Flash Gordon as a kid. Cool. Thanks, Northern Monkey Man. And so what happened was that Empire Strikes Back comes out. I have my little Boba Fett figure. I'm getting these little figures as I can. There's a kid up the street who has some rich grandparents and a mom with bipolar. She was a shut-in and all this stuff. So he had all these toys and stuff. And this was also around the time, if I remember right, that, it seems like He-Man Masters of the Universe was starting to hit. I'm not sure here. It might be getting a few years merged in there, man. I was like 7 in 1980, right? So anyway, I wanted to see Empire Strikes Back, and I begged my stepdad. I'm not ashamed to tell this story. I'm sorry if, anybody that knew my stepdad is watching this, but this happened. So I begged to go to Empire Strikes Back. No, we're not going, right? A couple months go by. I know it was cold outside. It was winter. So we're talking anywhere from, I don't know, December. I don't know. Months went by. And the way the theaters were, you may not have gotten the movie in opening weekend. They may have gotten them 6 months later. Or the theater may have had the movie and they still get it 6 months later. Sequels were not the norm like they are now. Yeah, you get it. So yeah, it wasn't even an idea that there'd be another Star Wars movie. But anyway, so I begged to go. He said no. Somewhere on the line, um, I heard him I was sitting in the living room and he had a bunch of his friends in the kitchen. And I heard him say, oh yeah, Empire Strikes Back was badass. And my little 7-year-old self just slowly looked at him. And that was the only time that man looked to put his head down. He went and saw Empire and didn't take me. So I was like, okay, okay. Even at that age, I knew that was shitty. And I don't know, it kind of justified something I was going to do, right? So I made up my mind. I'm like, I remember this. So pretty soon after that, on a Sunday, Flash Gordon was down at the mall, Richlands Mall. I'm 7 years old. And I went through laundry and I went through the couches and I would keep a bowl of change and stuff, right? I mean, I would have like $10 to $20 in change constantly to where even my parents would sneak in there and take stuff out of it. You know what I mean? So I always had a stash, and it was my candy stash, my trading card stash. In 1979, I bought my first comic book, so I would have like a little bit of change to buy a comic book here and there. You know what I mean? I'd go outside, collect cans. I would get on my big wheel and have a little basket that I would like collect bottles. You could trade in bottles back then. Change would go a long way back then, you know. So anyway, there was a Sunday and I had a pocket full of change and I had a buddy, and I swear I wish I could remember who this guy was. He was just a little bit older than me, man. And we snuck off. We snuck out of the trailer park where I was living. We went down the railroad tracks and we walked the railroad tracks all the way to the mall, and we watched Flash Gordon. I thought it was freaking fantastic. And then we came back. And over the years, I said this was like 4 or 5 miles that we did and all this stuff. I Google mapped it one day just for the hell of it because I was thinking about it, and it was 3 miles. But when you're 7 years old and you're doing that, you know, it was like an adventure. So I kind of had like a weird Stand By Me story, right? So when I saw this, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to get it. Plus, it's coming out early, right? So what's in the book here is that this is obscure stuff, right? I was really surprised because I showed it to my buddy Scott Connor, and Bill Mummy. One of the first things in here is Bill Mummy. Bill Mummy was Will Robinson on Lost in Space, and he's been on Babylon 5 and done some things and did some writing, stayed kind of active in the stuff. And apparently he has a band that's been around. Apparently, my buddy was trying to tell me since the 70s. I don't know, man, but it's called, he has a band called Seduction of the Innocent. And right there, there's a picture of Jack Kirby and his wife Roz dancing to the band, you know. So right there, I'm like, this is already very cool, man. Mike Erie's cool. We have Sam Jones getting interviewed recently, and this picture was actually taken just a few weeks ago, October 15th or something. They have pictures of him at there. Yeah, here it is, October 15th, 2016. So it was last year. Okay, like I said, I just flipped through this. But yeah, he's at that same Fayetteville Comic Con. So apparently he's a regular up there. I'm going to have to find Fayetteville. So they were up there. And of course, as you go through here, there's some cool stuff in here. Paul McCartney meeting Jack Kirby. And I've heard that story for years. I think J.J. Abrams is directing your stream, Epic Lens Flare. Yeah, Red Vitamin Blue, I talked about it before. I'm on a little phone, you know, a phone that's about a year old that I got on Black Friday. The lighting is weird, and in my previous stream, I talked about how I have a computer on the way, and when that computer comes in, I'll talk about how I got it and thank the person who's sending it to me. So, you know, enjoy. Just pretend pretend I'm a Rick Springfield video from 1981, and I'm singing Jesse's Girl, man. So, I'm just going to pretend it adds an epicness to this video. I mean, I always appreciate you guys that have hung in there in the last month and a half with these crappy little streams and stuff. Some of them were pretty good quality. But anyway, there's a story in here that I love that the article's finally there so I can be factual about it. But they're in comic book lore, you know, back when I was growing up, people who, you know, would talk about it whenever you would meet him and stuff, is that Paul McCartney was a fan. You have a bunch of rock and roll stars who are fans of Jack Kirby. Glenn Danzig, Frank Zappa, just a bunch of people, and apparently Paul McCartney. And Paul McCartney did the song about Titanium Man versus Magneto or something, right? So Kirby is living in LA. Paul McCartney is playing. I'm going to read the article later, and you know, I want to get the story as I've heard it for 30 years out, and then read the factual stuff in here. But Jack Kirby, Paul McCartney wanted to meet Jack Kirby, so Jack Kirby had a car sent to him, and he's on his way to meet Paul McCartney backstage at a concert that he's doing. And on the way, he draws this picture. Magneto and the Titanium Man and members of Wings on the way there, you know, and it was a little bit different Kirby style. It was a bit more realistic. So we come in here and stuff, and the article is in here talking about it, and apparently there's the picture that Jack Kirby drew on his way to meet Paul McCartney in the 70s. I finally see it, and I've seen this picture before, but I was told it was more realistic in style. So maybe he's talking about the faces or something. I don't know. So, yeah, I never thought that was the actual picture that he sent there, you know. So that's going to be kind of cool. John Romita Sr. is in here and stuff. There's a few other things here. T-Rex, what's his name? The dude from T-Rex, Mark Bolan from T-Rex. He apparently interviewed Stan Lee in the 70s, and that interview is in here. So this is very cool. Here we go. There's Mark Bolan with Stan Lee. Mark Bolan from T-Rex was very cool. T-Rex was very cool, all right? Even going back and listen, I got to listen to it. My stepdad and all them, they listened to it, but I got to appreciate it when I was older. Hey, Count Von Strange, what's going on? We're doing a little preview of Back Issue magazine that's coming out Monday that I got at a con yesterday. Rock and Rollin' Comics. I'm just telling stories, hanging out, man. So very cool. A lot of kissing here. And then this was the clincher. And I talked to Mike Urey before. Hey, thumbs up, brother. Howler is coming at me live. What's up, Legend? Morning, Legend. The great Legend is in the house. Go subscribe all these guys I'm mentioning and stuff. But Mike Urey started to remember me. I didn't have a beard the last time I talked to him and stuff at another convention near here. And I don't know if he was being nice or if he was really starting to believe, remember me. And he started referring to me as Tim. He made sure to get my name right. Mike Urey is a class act, right? But anyway, it's almost like I really did believe he started remembering me because we talked about Saturday morning cartoons. All right. And so again, we have some bands, Saturday morning cartoons with rock and roll music. I have talked extensively about being a fan of music, how it kind of started with my grandmother and just listening to it. And apparently it was ingrained in me when I was a kid with the Animals and stuff. There's stories about me dancing at festivals and stuff when I was like a little kid and barefoot, like, 2 years old and stuff. You just would just take me over. But anyway, the Saturday morning cartoons, man, you had like Fat Albert. I caught the tail end of the Archies. I caught the tail end of the Pebbles and Bam Bam show, and they had it. They had, and apparently, who doesn't know Sugar Sugar by the Archies and stuff, right? But you had all this stuff. And then in the 80s, you went in, you had a cartoon called Spaghetti and Meatballs, which was based off of Meatloaf. If you know who Meatloaf is and stuff, right? So I love how all this stuff ties together, and they had the Jackson 5 in here. But the one that got me is I got the tail end. They had two Harlem Globetrotters Saturday morning cartoons during the 70s. I was too young to watch the first one, but I caught the second one. And you need to look up the Harlem Globetrotters theme song for that, man. It's just this guy whistling, snapping his fingers. Great stuff, man. I loved it. So that's kind of cool that they got in there. The Amazing Chan Gang, the Butch Cassidy guys. Apparently there's things like that. They talk about the Partridge Family in here, so it's kind of cool. Real nostalgia. But here's the gold. Hey, just waking up, man. Love listening to Howler Tell History. I remember the Fat Albert watching those cartoons in the late 70s and 80s. If I had a band now, I wished I'd done it back in the days when I did play in bands, played bass and stuff. We would totally do the Fat Albert theme song. Hey, hey, hey. It's Fat Albert. Yeah, it's good stuff. And I actually have a CD around here somewhere that came out in the 90s where it was Saturday morning cartoon songs. It's where they had the Ramones singing the Spider-Man song. They did the H&R Puff and stuff. I think you had the Butthole Surfers. I think they did Underdog on it, stuff like that. It was really cool. But anyway, the big thing here is that we come into like right where I was a kid. We start talking about the Marvel Super Special #1 of Kiss that came out in '77. And I have a disintegrated copy that I've had since that came out. I don't think my mom and stepdad had been together very long, but the way I remember it, and I know I remember this, man. I know I'm not crazy, right? But we drove to a place called Johnson City, which was probably an hour and a half away, and there was a Kiss concert, and I think a band named Angel was opening for them or something, right? So I actually remember it had to be a 7-Eleven or a 7-Eleven like. I'm like 4. And he goes in there and he comes out with that Marvel Super Special, right? I ended up reading it over the years, and Kiss had taken their blood and supposedly mixed it with the ink, and there was an insert inside of it showing the pictures of Kiss getting the blood drawn when they're all full makeup and stuff, right? That thing's disintegrated over the years. They came out with a sequel later on that John Romita Jr. did, and it was very Beatle-esque, right? So they talk about that. I wish I had that comic. Yeah, well, you can get a trade of it that's recolored where they have both of these, both specials that came out. I think that was around 80, and that one's very inferior. They actually have a character called Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds with her kaleidoscope eyes, okay, in there. And so it gets into like Howard the Duck and Kiss being in there and all this stuff. But the cool thing, and it goes up to modern times, they're still making Kiss comics, Archie and Kiss and stuff. But Marvel was going to do a part 3, and I know that's not going to show up. But this is Neal Adams doing early artwork for the 3rd special. They brought in Neal Adams. And Mike Urey said that when he saw that piece of work, he said that's going to have to be a double-page spread. That he's not going to do it in one page. So here is Neal Adams drawing Kiss. And I'm assuming, now I know my Kiss lore. I really can't stand Kiss anymore, and I was a Kiss nut growing up. That part of that army, I planned my Halloweens out for 4 years on how I was going to dress up as each member of Kiss and stuff. I'm wondering if that is the Elder from the Elder album. That was a concept album, and that concept album, really, flopped. So I'm kind of wondering. I can't wait to get in here and read this to see if is the Elder, who that old man is and stuff, right? Actually, over the years, I got more forgiving about that album and can kind of get into it and stuff, right? So, we continue with the Archies, and they're interviewing people, and they touch on some other comic books that came out over the years that were biographies of bands. So, this is very cool. More about Kiss and stuff, right? I have some rock and roll comics, and in the '90s, I remember hearing Kiss saying, Gene, somewhere along the line, I heard Kiss saying they were going to do something more in comics, and I remember the interview because Gene Simmons always made it clear that he owns original art for any comic book that Kiss does. He gets the art. Well, apparently they were going to do a crossover with DC in the '90s during Superman's mullet years. So I can't wait to read that because, like I said, I heard an inkling of that. You know. Eric Carr and the Fox, Kiss Army, Amy Chu. So they get into the stuff. And then we get into Do the Hustle. I think they kind of get into some of the sillier characters from the disco era. You know. So I'm expecting them to get into like Dazzler and the New Mutants and stuff. With was it Lila Chaney? I can't remember her name. And of course the Alice Cooper, Marvel Premiere number 50 with Alice Cooper. I have this issue. Yeah, so I mean, there's some obscure stuff in here you can look up and find stuff from the inside. So yeah, as I'm flipping through this, I think it's kind of cool. And there's some fun stuff in this. Yeah, here it is. Lila Chaney in the New Mutants annual. Lila Chaney was a rock star in the New Mutants, the Marvel Universe, and Cannonball ended up going out with her. The coal mining Kentucky, hillbilly ended up going out the big rock star. And of course, she has some superpowers that you might want to check out. I think she had like intergalactic teleportation or something like that. I don't know, man. I don't know. We're going way back, but I always thought she looked like. I always thought, but when I did read about her, what little I did read of the New Mutants back then, I always thought she was Joan Jett. I always thought Lila Chaney was Joan Jett. I'm all about Joan Jett. So there's some cool art in here and stuff, right? And then for some reason, I can't wait to read about this. Steel Town Rockers. I remember when this miniseries came out in the late '80s and stuff, and I just completely ignored it. Completely ignored it. So something happened in it for some reason. Oh, probably around 1990 is when it came out because I remember She-Hulk by John Byrne came out, Namor came out, New Warriors came out. They had a couple of titles come out in 1990. Quasar and Steel Town Rockers just kind of got in there. And then we get to see the great Larry Hama. Larry Hama, if you are a G.I. Joe fan or anything like that, Larry Hama apparently, we get to see him in action here with his band and stuff. Larry Hama is very interesting. I think Larry Hama was also in the Warriors movie. He has a little cameo. He's part of a gang. He's one of 4 members on a gang that's waiting on a subway in the beginning of the movie during like the theme songs and credits. I must be an outlier because I kind of like the Elder album and early '80s Kiss. Creatures of the Night is still the most underrated record. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. My deal is with Family Jewels. Seeing, I loved Kiss growing up, man, but it's just been the past couple years some of the stuff that I've seen, and also it's also thanks to YouTube because I've jumped in there, and as a kid there was a show called Kids Are People Too, where they debuted Eric Carr to the masses, on national TV on this little show for kids, and people were pissed off about Peter Criss not being with the band and stuff, right? So basically, I've gone over the years remembering these little memories of Kiss interviews I saw on TV, and I found them on YouTube. And when I put all of them together, I'm sort of like, oh my God, they've lied to us. You get a bigger picture and stuff. So, I get nostalgic for Kiss. Oh my God, I almost watched Warriors on Blu-ray last night. Love that movie. The Lizzies Can't Be Trusted. That's damn straight, man. The freaking Warriors is okay. That's the end of the book, man. All right, we're going to talk about the Warriors for a minute here. Back issue 101 coming out next week. All right. I got my Warriors here somewhere, man. It is right behind me here somewhere. If I wasn't doing a stream, I'd jump over there and get it. Freaking Warriors. Okay, I love that movie. I had the Warriors. I had Over the Edge and all these little movies. I've never actually seen the Warriors. It's worth checking out. The freaking Warriors movies. We got a faction here on the comic community called the New York Warriors, right? The Baseball Furies were my favorite. Okay, cool gang. That's right, legend. The Baseball Furies, right? But basically, to me, The Warriors is a comic book movie that didn't have a comic book. Okay, that thing has a surreal feel to it, right? They did when they did the DVD a few years ago. They put in a new opening with the Ferris wheel and all this stuff, and a little explanation about what the story was inspired by. And I'm gonna mess it up because I'm shooting from the hip, but like years ago, think like Spartan time and all this stuff, there was some Roman soldiers or something that were uh, landlocked in enemy territory, right? This really happened. And for some reason, the only thing that kept them going is that everyone go hundreds, if not 1,000 miles to get to the beach. They felt like if they got to the ocean, they would survive. Well, in the Warriors movie, they take that concept with the Warriors. They're from Coney Island. That's their turf, right? And at the beginning of the movie, they have like this Messiah that comes up, and he's got factions representatives from every gang in New York, and he talks about like we are 15,000 strong and New York only has 10,000 cops, and all you guys want to do is fight over your little turf and neighborhoods and stuff, right? And then he gets shot and the Warriors get blamed, and now the word is out, every gang is out to get them, and they feel like if they get to the beach of Coney Island they'll be safe if they get home, and it's them trying to get home that night, and they refuse to take off their jackets and you get rid of their colors and all this stuff, and it's just a fantastic movie. But the thing ended up getting a surreal feel to it, man. These different gangs like the Lizzies and the Baseball Furies and the Turnbull Eights and all these guys. Can you dig it? That's right, man. And they ended up using real gang members in that freaking movie, so it has this authentic feel to it for real. You know, they were stand-ins and stuff like that, right? But they ended up being, but the Baseball Furies, these things were so surreal. And the Baseball Furies wore the Yankees outfits, and they had like the psychedelic makeup and stuff that they wore, man. And it was like each one could have been like a group, you know, their own little group. And one of the guys that was on the movie said that if we're shooting this at night, you're going to have continuity problems. There's a band called Baseball Furies. Now I know where the name came from. Yeah, that Warriors movie is freaking one of the most influential movies that gets no credit. You know, it has a cult following. People in New York, from what I can tell, knows what it is and stuff. But what made it surreal and made it feel like kind of a comic book movie is one of the guys on, you know, lived in New York. He said it rains in New York. If you want to shoot at night, you're going to have nights where the streets are dry and wet and all this stuff. So they would sit there and they would spray down every set they were on. They said there was one big storm in the movie, so now they can spray everything down. And the wet streets at night and the way the light shined and stuff, it gave this real surreal feeling, man. And this thing, these are the good guys trying to get to the beach. They've been framed by the bad guys, and everybody wants to come after them and stuff. This thing is a comic book movie. They're superheroes with their fights and stuff like that, man. This is like street level freaking stuff, man. So yeah, I'm pumped about the movie. I've always been a fan of it. You got Swan. You know, Swan said that the guy who played Swan in the movie said that the Warriors movie opened up a lot of doors for his career to be in movies, but then he made Xanadu. He made a musical movie called Xanadu, and he said they all shut right back, you know. So I always pull for when I see these guys from the Warriors going on to their movies. I'm trying to think what his name is, man. Ajax in the movie, he's the most successful one. You can look up Ajax and that actor, and I think he ended up like on Sex and the City there towards, you know, with his career, and I think he was dating one of the girls on the show or something. Whenever I see Ajax popping up, it just blows my mind. James Remar, that's it. I'm so glad the legend's out there, man. That's right, man. James Remar. But yeah, good. Just thanks, man. You bring up the Warriors, man, and I'm all freaking out. Yeah, it's good enough. We know what we're saying, man. I'm shooting from the hip here, man, but we know who we're talking about. So yeah, check out the Warriors movie, man. It's fantastic. I mean, I love that movie. Gets a little intense here and there and all this stuff, right, man? And they came out with a video game, which was actually like a prequel to it a couple years ago, man. I was all over that game, all over that video game. That was probably around 2005 or 6 or something. I remember when that video game came out. I was all over it, man. It was great. Okay, guys. Yeah, there you go. There's your back issue preview. We got geeked out a little bit with the legend. We got some great people out there. Again, you guys make the stream, man. The more you guys comment, the more I can bounce off of stuff, man. And I really enjoy it. I feel kind of selfish and stuff, man. So subscribe. Keep the thumbs up coming. Thanks for hanging in with my yeah, my laser flare. Warriors is some good shit. That's right, J-Rocks. You got that right. Yeah. Yeah, man. You need to do more live shows, Howler. Yeah, I think I will. I will. I may do another one today and stuff like that. I got some stuff to do. Damn, the game is awesome. I need to plug it in my original Xbox and play it. I hope it holds up. I really do. I'm so biased on that, man. Having anything Warriors related that's cool and stuff. That's just I geek out on, man. That's sorry, man. That's my childhood. I talked about Empire Strikes Back, ended up the Warriors. Warriors gave me that whole idea about friends having loyalty and stuff. I didn't get the gang concept being bad, but to me it was like a bunch of guys sticking together, getting through some shit, you know. So yeah, man, I'm gonna watch that today. I'm gonna dig that out. See what you did, Legend. See what you did on my rainy Sunday. You're gonna make me watch the Warriors, man. Awesome. Three Stooges and the Warriors, man. I love my life. All right, guys, that's it. Everybody's bowing out. Y'all have had enough. I might come back today, man. Thanks for everybody that's popped in here. Subscribe to Count Von Strange, the Legend, J Rocks, everybody that I've tried to mention in this as the comments came in, and share the video. Shoot, I will kick my kids off the TV and watch it too. Damn straight, man. Damn straight. It's that damn good. That movie is that damn good. That's right, Legend. Get them. Get them. All right, man. All right, guys. Later, Howler. Take care. Yeah, take care of you too, man. All right. Good to see you guys. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I will catch you later. Thanks, J Rocks. Later, Count Von Strange the fourth. All right. SW Steven. Thanks, man. Oh, thank you, man. Can't see your avatar. Northern Monkey, man. Yeah, hanging in there, brother. All right, man. Good to see all you guys. Later.